Hi, it's Paul from Model Builder International. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, the link is down there. That way you get notified of all the future videos, reviews, the occasional build, competitions as well, more like giveaways to be honest. So today we're going to have a look at the latest release from Flyhawk. This is the 1700th Bismarck. Hi, so let's have a look inside the box. This is FH 1132 1700th Bismarck 1941 from Flyhawk. This is the basic kit. There is also going to be an 1132S kit, which will contain usually more PE and brass barrels, but I don't actually think that one has been released yet. So looking on the box, I'd like to look at their pictures just to see what's in the future of it. HMS Lance 1941, I think we've already reviewed that one. So the next one is, somewhere in the pipeline, is the German light cruiser Königsberg in 1700th. That one should be interesting because I don't think anybody's done that in plastic before. So what do we get inside the box? Open it up and you get the cover art, and on the back is basically a really quick description of the story of the Bismarck. Not an awfully long story obviously, laid down 1936 and at the bottom of the Atlantic by 1941. And main characteristics, armament, displacement, things like that. Instructions. Flyhawk's usual manner, long double-sided sheets, two of them. Starts off with parts. I can see there's a decals sheet, there's a very small PE fret. As it says here, that PE fret is not included in the deluxe version, obviously because there's more extra PE frets in that one. And then coming down, we'll go through these in more detail. Just have a quick glance. Goes through, makes the secondary armament, puts the hull together. You have the choice of full hull or waterline, so whichever you want you can make. And then going down, putting things together. Things are colour coded where needed to make them stand out. Funnels, building the central superstructure. There's a complete unit with one of the main turrets. And then the second sheet. Again, ship's boats, and then we're down to 16 steps, gets you right through to the end. Painting and markings, they're called out by name. Mr. Hobby Tamiya white ensign. Could be a reasonably straightforward painting if you wanted to. Then on the other side there's assembling the Auto 196 and the colour schemes for that. So then what do we get inside here? So there's one bag with frets, bags with main armaments, lots of small bags containing things. There's the main hull, main deck. Ends are protected so they don't get damaged. That's the flat bottom for the waterline version. Metal plate for the waterline version. And there's I think the decal sheet and the one PE fret. Notice the swastikas are made up in parts. For the smaller ensigns, that put that right way up. Smaller ensigns might be a bit fiddly, and you've got markings for the aircraft as well. Again, we'll have a look at those later. Okay, so I'll open up some of these bags and we'll have a quick look at some of the parts. Okay, so I've taken all the parts out the bags. First look, I can see that on the main turrets, even in plastic, the ends of the main barrels are hollow. which is nice. There's, as usual with Flyhawk, lots of fine detail and small parts. Things which in other kits would often be solid pieces of plastic are finely detailed in here. So like anti-aircraft armaments. There's the funnel in one part. Some nice detail on the outside. There's a superstructure again. Doors and so on are already on there, and vents there. And then, what's we got? I'll show you this. This is the main couple of pieces of superstructure, again with doors, portholes are in there. Ship's hull down to the waterline, then portholes, and they have the eyebrows on them as well. Armour plate line there. Here's the bottom half of the hull with strakes. That looks very nice. And some recessed detail in the bottom there. Here's the inside the cardboard. The bottom plate has that in protected by plastic. There's the main deck, and there's some raised details on there, and you can make out the individual planks as well. And the chain is on there as well, anchor chain. So there's details there, and then we'll just look at those. Funnel cap. There's the ship's propellers, water brakes. These parts were all put together. There's the ship's boats. There's a different arrangement on the sprue there for some of the ship's boats. So what I'll do is I'll go through, I'll photograph everything. There'll be loads of photographs on the website, close-ups, more than you'll see here. And what I'll do is I'll go through the steps on the instructions and put up close-ups of the main parts for each step, and we'll see what we get. Normally at this point I'd go into the background of the item the kit or decal sheet is about, but since it's the Bismarck, I'm not going to bother with that, since people generally know quite a bit about the Bismarck anyway. But if you want more information, I've put a link underneath the video, and that will take you to the website, and there's some information there and a couple of links for even more information. Obviously the Bismarck has been reproduced in kit form quite a few times before. Looking back, I can see there's been about 40 different boxings of the Bismarck in 1/700th. The most recent one was last year by Meng, but that was a very simplified kit, almost a snap-right kit. Before that, we're back about 8 years to a neutral release, or the last neutral release from Revell. Flyhawk's also released for this kit a photo etch set, brass barrels, display base, nameplate, masks and wooden decks. There's also a deluxe version that contains the extra PE set and brass barrels, and if you're going to get the extra PE set anyway, that's the better value kit for you to go for. So inside this box, as usual with Flyhawk, it's a pretty high parts count, 460 odd plastic parts, plus 12 other bigger parts. Then there's a small PE sheet with just one piece of PE in it, decal sheet and metal plate, and obviously the two instruction sheets that we're going to go through now. Okay, so step one starts with putting the main hull together. You have a choice of making it a full hull or a waterline version. Also in step one you put together the secondary armament, and it says to fit them at this stage, but I think most people would probably leave them off and fit them later. Obviously if you can do the full hull version, propellers and rudders go on at this point as well. Step two is reasonably straightforward, just putting together the main armament, and there's some very nice detail on the on the turrets themselves. And then step 3, basically starting at the forecastle, putting some small parts up there, breakwaters, and some colour coding on here to help you sort things out, and supposedly fitting the forward turret, although again probably something you'd leave off till later. Now we get to start building the superstructure. Basically you're going to build it up one deck at a time, from bottom to top. There's some very nice detail on these parts as well. You can see there's vents, doors, all manner of fine detail on these superstructure parts. Step 5, we continue building the forward superstructure, adding a rangefinder at the top, across on the right. Step 6, again just building up that forward superstructure, and we add one of the masts. The masts are nice and thin and look pretty good. Step 7, almost at the top of the main superstructure, putting the last small parts on there, another rangefinder. And step 8, basically putting the funnel. Most of the funnel is cast in one piece. It's mostly hollow, lots of nice detail on the outside. Add the couple of searchlight stands on the sides as well. Looks like maybe you have the choice of having them open or closed, so you can see the searchlights inside, and adding more searchlights forward as well. And now in step 9 we're starting to put together the sub-assemblies that we've already built. Essentially that's basically step 9, just putting the sub-assemblies together. Move across to step 10, and then we're putting some of the, should we say, the bigger assemblies together. And basically end up with most of the forward superstructure. Also some ship's boats going at this point. I like how they've started having the sprue gates for the ship's boats are actually on the keel of the small boats, so you're never going to see them. Step 11 has you fitting basically your big forward superstructure assembly. Fit that to the main hull, add a few more small parts around, including a couple of ship's davits, but also the ship's cranes go on at this point as well. So now that the forward superstructure is done, step 12, we start on the aft superstructure, and again building it up layer by layer, adding small parts as we go along, and again lots of nice detail, lots of small parts to go on here, but once it's all together should look very nice. Now to step 14, and start off by putting together a mast. As before, they're finely reproduced in plastic, and then adding the small parts for the aft superstructure. Sea turret goes on, and basically putting together the aft superstructure and getting that one complete. Step 15 has us fit the completed aft superstructure onto the main hull, and again adding more ship's boats, davits and other small parts on there. And there's a better diagram over on the right hand side there, shows you exactly how these things go together, because there's one of the ship's boats is underneath basically part of the superstructure. And now on to the last couple of steps. Step 16, fitting the aftmost turret and also some small parts at the aft end of the ship. Some colour identifications here just to help you get things in the right places. And step 17, the very last thing, is fitting that one part of photo etch for the ship's catapult, fitting that amidships. It says this part is not included in the deluxe set, but I suspect that with the deluxe set you get those extra PE frets, and it's probably included in there. What they're probably saying is this small PE fret is not included in the deluxe version. The last thing on the sheet anyway, although you might have done it earlier, is the 4 Arado 196 that were carried on the Bismarck. Each one is made of basically 10 or 11 parts, depending whether you have the wings extended or folded. All 4 aircraft could be stored inside hangars, so having none on display is also an option as well. You get decals for all 4 aircraft that were on the Bismarck. Talk a bit about the decals when I do the paint, but as usual, Flyhawk, look, there were the 1/700th aircraft, which I've covered in different reviews. They're really nicely detailed. You'll probably find the P fret in the deluxe version might replace some of these parts with photo etch as well. Overall, they're really nice little kits of aircraft. Next bit is the painting guide. Colours are called out by name: Mr. Hobby, Tamiya and White Ensign. Reasonably straightforward painting guide. They also supply you with decals. The swastikas are broken into parts. You also get decals for the Arrow 196 aircraft that are fitted. And again, the swastikas are broken into parts, and some of these decals are tiny. Basically, you're making an aircraft 1/700th swastika from 3 parts. Could test your eyes a little bit. So, an overall conclusion. Basically, Flyhawk, as they usually do, there's some very nice detail in here. Very crisp detail, and also a lot of detail as well. It's 8 years since we've had a real new toolkit. The one from Meng last year was a very simplified kit, almost a snap together kit really. So I believe that Flyhawk, as it sort of stands alone, just the plastic, is probably the best out there at the moment for levels of detail. So it should do well. Bismarck's always popular, so hopefully should do well for Flyhawk. And many thanks to Flyhawk for sending it along for us to have a look at.